What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one, I want to give you guys a very quick update on Tesla, SPY, Nvda, and a couple of other tickers. But let me first say that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I say as financial advice. And then don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. We deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. We put in $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. Anyways, when it comes to the way the market is moving, SPY has this falling wedge-like structure, which I called out in the morning. And this does suggest that there's going to be a big bounce coming in the future, possibly thanks to CPI. But nothing can be promised right now. We can't guarantee anything. And let's just talk about the price action that's in front of us. Right now, SPY is still on a downtrend. We haven't officially bounced or anything like that. And there's still a risk of this thing coming back down lower. So for now, the chart is still showing some weakness. We have resistance at 510, and the support, the exact support I called out was 508.5 if we lost 509.5, and that was the 4-hour 50 EMA. What happened? SPY lost the support, and where do we end up dropping to? 508.5 exactly. So the level played out perfectly. Now, if we do lose this, there's a risk of us coming back down. There is also 507 to 507.5, that range right there. And excuse me, I think that if SPY does end up coming down, somewhere in this 507 to 508 areas where this thing may attempt to bottom, and we might get a counter trend bounce somewhere close to that. We already hit 508.5, so we're getting close to that temporary bottom. And considering that there's a falling wedge right before CPI, it makes me kind of like lean in favor of a little bounce that could come thanks to CPI, but I'm not going to promise that. CPIs could be risky, but I just want to say there's a real possibility. But anyways, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. SPY is still, it's still kind of range bound right now. It's been going back and forth between 510 and 508.5, but we did get a move to the downside as I talked about yesterday, and there is a risk of us dropping a little bit more. We could get closer to the 507s, but I do believe we're going to base as we get closer to that level. Now, for the QQQ, I told everyone exactly that the QQQ might pop and then drop, and that is the move we saw. We saw the QQQ pop to 438. That's the level we called out. Then it dropped just under 436. Now, I was thinking that 436 would come if we lost this. We could get closer to like the 434 area, like 434.98. Instead, it was around 435.5 at the bottom of this wedge. So it was actually not as low as what I was thinking, but it still did make a very similar move, a little pop and drop like structure. And let me just say, the bigger picture on the QQ is just like SPY. We have a giant falling wedge-like structure that's developing. It's been developing for almost 2.5 days. So that makes me think that, we could see a bounce after CPI. There's a real possibility. I'd be very careful at the same time, but watch 438 as resistance, 440 as resistance as well if that breaks. Watch support at 436. If we lose that, we could test this bottom trend line right here and also 434.98. So overall, the QQQ is on a downtrend. It's not the strongest, of course, but just know it has potential to bounce in the future. I think it might actually come down first before we get that bounce, but the balance could come as soon as tomorrow thanks to CPI. So I just want to give you guys that heads up. Now on Tesla, what did I say about Tesla? I said it might pop and drop, but I underestimated how much this thing would pop by. But the reason why I underestimated it is because some new piece of news came out that was very bullish. So I was saying in my video that Tesla might pop a little bit. We could get close to 177.6, maybe a little higher, close to 180, then come back down, and that the market could drag it down because of SPY dropping. But instead, Tesla's outperforming, doing even better than expected. So it actually pushed even higher, and then it came back down. It kind of popped and dropped. Technically, it did do that, but it went even higher in the beginning. And why did that happen? Because this new news came out that Tesla's German Gigafactory, basically, it could get power again as soon as today. If they get the power today, that's going to be very bullish. The workers are working on improving the situation. So that's some big news for Tesla, and we'll see if that ends up happening. But that's the reason why I got an even bigger bounce than expected. Otherwise, what's happening with the stock? So we're now going to shuffle around this 180 area. If we lose this, watch 179, then 177.6. And if we start pushing higher, right, we could approach 182. But overall, I would say that Tesla's going to likely just for the time being. It could come down a little bit lower thanks to SPY kind of dragging it back down to like 177.6 to 178, then back up. But I think that Tesla's going to trade a little sideways, and then SPY will dictate it alongside the markets, at least moving forward. Tesla might outperform the market, but the market is what's causing Tesla to kind of like slow down a bit. And then what's going to have a big effect on this is going to be CPI going into tomorrow. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Moving forward, looking at Nvda. Nvidia, in my opinion, did almost exactly what we predicted. I said Nvidia may pop and drop, and to watch 844 yesterday. I also said this in the morning, and I said it may pop off this, and that's kind of like what happened. We popped and dropped down to about 844. Now we're coming back up, so we're actually getting a little bounce. Watch resistance right now on Nvidia at this 877 area, and if we break that, there's 884, just a little bit under that. If we break past that, our next target will be all the way up towards the 894 area, like all the way up there. For support, you're going to be watching 870. We basically have this level right here, this 872 area. If it loses that, there's 862, followed by these lows down here at 852 and 844. I think Nvidia is just going to trade sideways for the rest of the day before it gets a big move after CPI. But let me just give you a hint. There is a chance it might try to bounce tomorrow thanks to CPI. So just be a little bit careful. It did drop very hard without any counter trend. So it may make an attempt to get back up just temporarily. All right. And then finally, the last one I'm going to go over from the main five is going to be Apple. I told everyone to watch the yellow trend line as resistance on Apple. So what Apple's been doing is when you zoom out like this, right? Very simply, Apple loved to reject off this yellow line right here. Look at how many times it rejected off of this, and we just retested it. We're attempting to break past it. Apple did kind of like pop and drop. I did say that that's a possibility for Apple too. But I told you if we broke past this, we could fill this gap. We actually came just a little short of filling the gap. We almost filled it. We hit 174.35 ish. We came short of filling the gap that's close to 174.5, and then we came back down. So it just came short, and we'll have to see if we could hold above 172 or not. We're showing a little bit of weakness. We kind of popped and dropped. If we lose 172, we could return to 170.9 and then 170 as supports. If we bounce off the yellow trend line, we could try to push back up for 174. Overall, Apple is outperforming, doing relatively well. But the market is slowing it down a bit, so we'll have to see if we could try to hold above 172.5 and then 170.9. Overall, I do believe it's trying to hold up, and we'll see how well it does from here. But it's not the end of the world. I'd say that Apple is showing more strength. It's looking quite decent. With that said, let me just go over a couple more because I know a lot of people like to request a few others before I end up concluding this video. So if we look at Super Micro, I said yesterday 1100 should be coming. We may even lose that. We lost 1100 and now we return to 1025. Our resistance is 1080 and then 1100 above that. Watch resistance on 1080. We'll see if we reject or not. If we do reject, it could actually make a move back down to 1050, then 1025. For the IWM, we called a little pump and drop on it yesterday. I said it could retrace towards these lower levels, and that's what ended up happening. We did end up seeing a little retracement, a little pump and drop back down to 205. I told you it wasn't as great to trade as other tickers. We had better setups. We also called out a head and shoulders on Amazon. Remember, we called that out, and so far, it's decent. The only thing about that is we haven't gotten an official break below 172 where we held below it yet or close below that. But if you zoom out on this, you will see that there's a nice head and shoulders like structure that is still developing right now. So we're going to be watching to see how well this holds up. You guys can see right here, we have this left shoulder here, this head and the right shoulder. There's a risk of this dropping lower, but we'll have to wait and see. CPI could cause it to kind of like rebound a bit and then make its way lower, but we'll see what happens after that. All right, guys. So with that said, the market may just trade sideways and range trade for a bit, but then the next big move that's coming is going to be CPI. Do not forget that SPY and the QQQ have nice falling wedges, which tend to lead to bullish outcomes. You can even look it up if you don't remember what that is. Apple is showing some strength, Tesla showing a bit more strength because some bullish news came out. And that's pretty much it for the time being. The markets, some stocks are looking a little bit weaker. But let me just say that CPI could cause a bounce in the markets. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But until then, thank you for listening. Make sure you watch the levels I called out, and I'll see you guys very soon in just a couple of hours. Thank you and peace out.